Hi everybody, Mischa here with Word of the Day, and there it is. Epiphany. Whoa, I love this word. What does the noun epiphany actually mean? It has two completely different meanings. The first refers to the Christian holy day of the Epiphany. That's the day when the three kings or the three magi or the three wise men show up in Bethlehem with their gifts of frankincense and myrrh for the baby Jesus. They've been following their star, right? And depending on whether your particular group follows the old Julian calendar or the newer Gregorian calendar, you will celebrate the Epiphany either on January 6th or on January 19th. Now, the second meaning of Epiphany is quite different, and this is the way we really use it. If you have an epiphany, that is a sudden flash of understanding. It's oh my gosh, I see things, I see reality for what it is. It isn't what I thought. When you have this sudden, clear, out of nowhere understanding of something, that's called an epiphany. Okay, now, where does the word epiphany come from? It comes from Greek to Latin to late Latin to Middle English. And according to the OED, in 1340, it's in lots of church calendars, the Feast of the Epiphany. That's the way we see it. The second meaning, the way that we use it now to describe this sudden understanding of something we didn't really see clearly before, that's really quite new. That is a gift from James Joyce, the Irish writer, who realized that a lot of his characters went through this process, and so he worked on it, and he actually turned it into a whole literary device, the Epiphany. Okay, now, how do we use this word epiphany now? Let's use a couple of examples here so you can see it clearly. Starting with the holiday, because that's easy. How about this? In Bulgaria, on the Epiphany, men get dressed up in costumes and they go into the icy, icy waters of the Tunja River. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they sing and they dance and they do religious stuff, and I gotta tell you, it is now on my bucket list. I'm going to Bulgaria for that Epiphany thing. It looks great. Okay, now how about this? This is an example of a scientific epiphany where somebody just goes, oh my God, I get it. You know, like Eureka. I now understand why, as Archimedes said, I now understand the displacement of water as he's sitting in the bathtub. Here's my sentence, though. And it's Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton's sitting under a tree. He sees an apple fall, and does he think, oh, I wonder if there's a wormhole in that apple. Maybe I can eat it. That's what I would think. No. We're talking Isaac Newton. He thinks, I now understand the relationship between falling objects and the movements of the planets. Gravity. Well, that's Isaac Newton. What would you expect? Of course he's going to have an epiphany like that. On the other hand, my personal epiphany, I've had many, but one of them was about my hometown, Appleton, Wisconsin. When I was growing up, really, I didn't like it. It was too conservative for me, and I was always getting in trouble. So I didn't expect to go back a few years ago and be not just totally in love with all the people there, but the very, very incredible beauty of that town, the physical beauty. It was a real epiphany. But I should have expected it. My dad always told me that someday I would come back and I would see it for the first time. He was right. So, speaking of epiphanies, if you like to read and have lots of epiphanies, maybe you want to read a little James Joyce. Now, I have his magnum opus right here, Ulysses, And I have to give you a recommendation on this one. It's very difficult, so don't try to read this book without help. I got a lot of help, man. I worked for 3 or 4 months before I even started this one, but it's a great book. And if you want to buy books, of course, we are not buying from the big boys right now because they are behaving badly. We're going to give it to the independent booksellers. So click above or below at bookshop.org/shop/word of the day, and I'll see you later.